You always want to watch President Trump's press conferences live, okay? Because when you watch them live, you catch all kinds of things that they don't want to show you in the mainstream fake news legacy media. And today, President Trump dropped a huge story. I mean, a big one. My name is Brian Craig. This is the Brian Craig Show podcast, where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you are listening to us on. Okay, now President Trump had one of these, unscheduled press conferences in the Oval Office, and that's where it happened. Listen to this. The Gateway Pundit, which is one of the best online news sources to ever exist. It's like the Drudge Report in, the 90s before they sold out to whoever Drudge sold it to and it became liberal garbage. But this is the Gateway Pundit, which is awesome. This is amazing. President Trump suggested, and I'm going to play you the audio of this in just a moment. President Trump suggested Joe Biden's Deputy Attorney General, Lisa Monaco, was one of the Autopen operators. Trump made the remarks today during an Oval Office briefing on wildfires. And anytime the president speaks, I stop what I'm doing and listen, because you never know what's going to happen. And talking about removing brush and everything for forest fires may not sound all that interesting. It's important, no doubt. It's important. But doesn't sound like the most interesting topic? Well, if it was another president, you'd be right, not with President Trump. Let me play you the audio. Listen to this. This is just fantastical. Listen.
Mr. President, these protests obviously started in reaction to these large-scale ICE operations in Los Angeles. Should people...
Okay, now obviously they're talking about the battle for Los Angeles that's going on, which we're going to talk about in detail on the program. But let's get to this breaking news with the Autopen first.
Mr. President, these protests obviously started in reaction to these large-scale ICE operations in Los Angeles. Should people expect to see similar operations in the rest of the country?
Yeah.
And will similar protests see similar response?
As you know, we're moving murderers out of our country that were put here by Biden or the Autopen. The Autopen really did. I mean, the people, whether it's Lisa Monaco or whoever operated the Autopen, these are criminals. The people are criminals that allowed these criminals into our country. And I don't think that Biden knew what the hell he was doing. I don't think he even knew about it. But when they opened up our borders for the whole world to come in, we're going to get them out. We're getting them out. We're starting to get...
Okay, now I'm going to play the whole thing, but I want to talk about the importance of this Monaco lady, okay? Deputy Attorney General. So who is she, and why all of a sudden are we hearing about her having something to do with something as important as this? It makes all the sense in the world, okay? And I really think what happened here is President Trump, since he has the Justice Department looking into the Autopen, which is one of the biggest crimes, maybe the biggest ever committed in the history of the United States presidency. It makes the whole Watergate thing look like jaywalking, right? Really. I mean, Nixon had nothing to do with the break-in. He was trying to raise some money, the slush fund they call it, to pay off the Watergate burglars, the plumbers, and have them go on vacation for a while, which is, that was not on the up and up. But he should not have resigned. He wasn't impeached. But anyway, that's nothing compared to the Autopen. And the Autopen, you got to understand, the Autopen is the most powerful writing instrument ever created, because with that Autopen, not only can you sign pardons for very bad people, you can sign executive orders, you can give orders to different agencies of the government, right? You can command armies and the Navy and order military action. That Autopen is the most powerful, maybe single device ever made. Single device. And what I mean by that, I would say the power of the Autopen. And it's an interesting thing with the Autopen. When I was in college, I had this history professor, and he was probably a lefty, because a college professor, but he knew his history. It was good. And he said the two most destructive devices ever invented was the atom bomb and the cotton gin. And this is a common thing that historians talk about, the cotton gin, because when the cotton gin was invented, that's when slavery really increased in the South. But anyway, I don't want to get sidetracked. I want to add the Autopen to that list because with that Autopen, you control the government of the United States and our military. And if people use that Autopen in military actions that resulted in deaths, those are murders. So it's very destructive device, the Autopen. It can be. And it's very, very powerful. And I think, people talk about the Autopen so much that we lose the context of what it is, how powerful it is, and it's almost like a punchline in a lot of circles when people are talking about the Autopen. Nothing could be further from the truth, okay? Now, back to this Monaco Deputy Attorney General, and I'm going to rewind and we'll play everything the president said there because he's talking about the battle for Los Angeles, and I want to cover that. But this was some major news drop today. This is a new name so far as using the Autopen, right? We heard about the Autopen committee, had White House counsel in it, White House chief of staff, and a couple of others, okay? But this is the first time, Anita Dunn, this is the first time I've heard Monaco. Now, maybe you have, but I haven't. A deputy attorney general. That means that there was a conspiracy at the highest levels of the Biden regime, and they have this deputy attorney general for Joe Biden, this Monaco lady, to tell them it's legal. Right? Somehow they use this deputy attorney general to come in and convince themselves that the way they were using the Autopen to govern the country during this senile old coot's reign, Joe Biden, that it was legal. And having the deputy attorney general there telling them that it is legal made it legal. So this is just amazing information. And, another thing with the president here, I'm wondering why he dropped this today. This investigation's going on. They haven't come out with any conclusions or results of that investigation, and it sounds to me like President Trump has been getting briefed on the investigation. But, the Autopen, it's a very big device, okay? I've seen videos and photographs of the one at the White House, and it's a pretty big device. It's not like an ink pen, and it's bigger than this microphone that I'm holding in my hand. It's a big device that is maybe like the size of the old overhead projectors, maybe even bigger. It's wide. It's a big device. And because of its importance and power, it's not something you can just get and use. I think a lot of people think it's like some kind of special ink. It's a big thing. There must be records where you have to sign it out and things to use it. So I'm thinking that he's been getting briefed. They've been briefing him on the investigation. They have some information because there are logs, and maybe they've been questioning people and just haven't released it to the public yet. And he dropped that, not by accident. President Trump is very, very careful with his words. He doesn't say anything by accident, right? He says what he means, and he means what he says. And I think President Trump dropped that name on purpose today because he wanted it out there, and that is what the investigators have come up with. So this is just amazing. So let me rewind the video here, and I'll play the whole thing of this clip because he's talking about the battle for Los Angeles.
President, these protests obviously started in reaction to these large-scale ICE operations in Los Angeles. Should people expect to see similar operations in the rest of the country?
Yeah.
And will similar protests see similar response?
As you know, we're moving murderers out of our country that were put here by Biden or the Autopen. The Autopen really did. I mean, the people, whether it's Lisa Monaco or whoever operated the Autopen.
Lisa Monaco. Remember that name.
These are criminals. The people are criminals that allowed these criminals into our country. And I don't think that Biden knew what the hell he was doing. I don't think he even knew about it. But when they opened up our borders for the whole world to come in, we're going to get them out. We're getting them out. We're starting to get acknowledgement from the courts that, there's a system. They come in without courts and they go out, they want trials and everything else. I think that's starting to work out now. Judges are starting to see what a terrible situation it is. Many of those people that you saw on television last night are criminals that were allowed into our country by Biden. And they want to stay, and we don't want them. And they come from jails, and they come from mental institutions, and they come from all over the world, not just South America. And we're not going to let them stay. And this is the first, perhaps, of many, or perhaps, if we didn't attack this one very strongly, you'd have them all over the country. But I can inform the rest of the country that when they do it, if they do it, they're going to be met with equal or greater force than we met right here. We did a great job. The people, you, Christy, and Tom Holman, and all of the people, Pete Hegseth, all of the people involved did an amazing job. We stopped a disaster. And it looks like a planned disaster, this didn't just happen. They had weapons, they had tools, they had everything you needed. I mean, they were throwing iced water in bottles, in glass bottles, at officers and at soldiers. These are, you could not use the word insurrection, but you could also use the word, these are very dangerous people, they're bad people. They were met with heavy force and they folded. And they may be there a little bit tonight, they may be there a little bit, but it seems to be getting less and less because they're going there and they're met with a very heavy force. And if they weren't, you would have that city right now would be on fire. It would be burning down. The rest of it, what's left over, because the other fire was started because they wouldn't allow water into LA. They wouldn't allow water into California because they had it all shifted out to the Pacific Ocean. And I turned it around. And I told them to do it in my first term, and they didn't do it. We had COVID, and they didn't do it. And I told them to do it. We did it in the second. Now we have billions of gallons of water.
Yeah, and all those fires we had in Malibu were because they didn't do what the president ordered them to do the first time around. Really, maybe the president should federalize California and take it over, and Los Angeles as well. This battle for Los Angeles that's going on, he is right. This is a very well-organized happening that's going on in Los Angeles. And, a lot of what's been happening out there, you can tell that it's organized because some of the things, like one of the things President Trump was talking about in the Oval Office, it's amazing. He knows everything that's going on. He was watching, and I saw this too. There was a guy with a hammer, a chisel, and he was hammering a curb on the on the side of the street, where the sidewalk becomes the curb, and he was hammering pieces of the concrete off and handing it to people so they could throw it at cops, throw it at the federal agents. And he says, who goes to a place like that with a hammer or a chisel and does something like that? A professional agitator. And who they are, there's all kinds of things of who's paying for it, but we know this. Whoever's paying for it directly, they're liberals, and the Democrats are behind all of it. And this is an insurrection. That is a term that the liberals made famous after January 6th. And they said this, if you interrupt government business, you are an insurrectionist. ICE agents are federal agents. They're following the directive of the commander-in-chief, the President of the United States, Donald Trump. And these protesters that they're calling them, these professional agitators in Los Angeles, are interrupting with the business of the federal government. That, by the definition of all the liberals in the media, all the Democrats, is indeed an insurrection. So an insurrection is the appropriate term for what is happening in Los Angeles. Make no mistake about it. On top of the fact that California has not only been invaded, a lot of the country has been invaded by illegals, okay? California has been invaded, but they've also been conquered and occupied. And in many instances, colonized because people that are coming here illegally are having babies to anchor them here. That's colonization.
This Father's Day, give a gift that speaks from the heart. The Flower Story from author Sean Feeney is a tribute to the unconditional love between a father and his daughter. Inspired by a 2-year-old's bedtime request, The Flower Story follows the journey of a flower given by a father to his little girl, growing with her through the years. It's a story that blossoms with meaning, capturing those quiet, powerful moments only a dad and daughter truly understand. The Flower Story is perfect for bedtime, story time, or any time. It also includes a special section where dads can add their own personal message, making each book a one-of-a-kind keepsake. Whether she's 2 or 22, let her know your love grows forever. Celebrate Father's Day with The Flower Story from author Sean Feeney. It's a gift she'll never forget. Order your copy right now on the author's website, SeanFeeneyBooks.square.site. That's SeanFeeny, SeanFeeneyBooks.square.site.
And even MSNBC, who hates Trump like the plague, is admitting that they're giving numbers for the numbers of illegals in Los Angeles. And this guy here on MSNBC and NBC News, he's on both. He's becoming pretty famous. This is the joker that was talking to Tom Homan about arresting Newsome, and then Newsome told this reporter, arrest me, arrest me. This is the same jerk from MSNBC and NBC News. Listen.
How unusual and how unprecedented the size and the scale and the scope of the immigration enforcement operations that took place in Los Angeles, starting with right here at this Home Depot in Cypress Park at 7 o'clock, 7:15, 7:30 on Friday morning, were and why they led to those protests. The big picture is Los Angeles is a so-called majority-minority city and a majority-minority state.
Okay, now you notice how they're trying to make this a racial thing? This has nothing to do about skin color, okay? We have an American state, California, which is a great, beautiful state, that has been taken over by a foreign occupying force, okay? And what President Trump is doing in the battle for Los Angeles is repelling the enemy occupiers, the enemy, colonizers of Los Angeles.
There are more people of color that live in Los Angeles than white people at this point, and many of those people are undocumented. By some counts, 10% of the population of LA County, one of the largest counties, the largest county by population in the United States, is undocumented. Maybe it's
okay. So if MSNBC is telling us 10% of LA County is illegal, they say undocumented, illegal. What do you think the real number is, right? I would say you gotta, I don't know, at least double it, and that's probably still being conservative.
One of the largest counties, the largest county by population in the United States, is undocumented. Maybe as many as 1 million people. Those people are our neighbors, our coworkers, our classmates, our friends, our parishioners, fellow parishioners in churches. They are part of the fabric of the city of Los Angeles. And
illegals. That's right, because they've taken it over. You know, if you watch my live stream from this morning, which would be the video before this one on my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube, I got a call from a guy. He's a MAGA guy, and he was calling me from his car driving on the Florida Turnpike. He just moved to Florida from Los Angeles. I mean, just moved. And he's very excited because he's MAGA, and Florida's a red state, and he's very excited. And he had an accent. And I said, I knew what the answer was, but I wanted to hear what he said. I said, what kind of accent is that you have? And he says, this is a Los Angeles accent. And I said, no, it's not. A Los Angeles accent is, well, an American accent, but we know the Valley Girls, like, oh my God, you know, right? Remember Valley Girl? This guy, I said, no. I said, you have a Mexican accent. And the overtaking of Los Angeles has been so severe that the accent of Los Angeles has changed since the 1980s when Valley Girl was out there, from the Valley Girl California accent to a Mexican accent. They call it a Los Angelino accent now, but no, it's because they've been taken over.
Not in the last many decades under Democratic nor Republican presidents, despite the fact that you had presidents with big deportation programs, Democratic and Republican, as you have so often reported, have we seen the type of immigration enforcement we saw play out on the streets of Los Angeles on Friday. And that struck fear into the heart of not just the undocumented community here, but of many U.S. citizen family members of undocumented people and many U.S. citizens who know those people.
Okay, so see, the left and the liberal fake news media, they have this new standard, right? That if you're illegal, they call it undocumented, right? But if you're illegal, but some of your family are legal, they're U.S. citizens or legal status, for some reason your legal status should be considered legal as well because you have family here. That's ridiculous, okay? If you do crime, and these are federal crimes, being in the country illegally is a federal crime. If you commit a federal crime, you don't get a pardon from that crime or a commutation because the rest of your family didn't do the crime. This is some new 1984 George Orwell newspeak that they're coming up with.
Because that is removing people from this community who have been here if not their entire life, virtually their entire lives. There are so many mixed status families.
Hear that one? Mixed status families. This is another one. These are new terms and phrases that I've been hearing this week. Mixed status family. That's another big new one. They're trying to make, like we have interracial families and things like this, a different. Now it's mixed status families. Some in the family are legal, some are illegal, and the ones that are legal typically are the anchor baby children. But this is a new victim class they're creating, the mixed status family.
Life, virtually their entire lives. There are so many mixed status families that live in Los Angeles that might have an undocumented parent or relative and U.S. citizen child or cousin who, we've talked about this before. The family separation policy of the first Trump administration in 2018 was a deliberate ripping apart of parents and children at the border to separate those families and inflict pain on those families. But when I say mass deportation is family separation, when I say those signs that were held up on the floor of the Republican convention, as I talk to you from the floor of that convention, was a sign of what was to come and why that is also a form of family separation. It is family separation in the interior. It's taking parents away from their children, not at the border and not in detention centers, but at a Home Depot on the street corner.
Yeah, well, if you go to Home Depot, if you're a parent, right, you go to Home Depot, you're a parent, you got kids, they're in school, they're home, and you steal a car, you committed a crime. You get arrested, you go to jail, and you face the consequences of that because you've done a crime. Or maybe you don't steal a car, but your kids are at home, your kids are in school, you go to Home Depot and you shoplift, store security catches you, calls the cops, you get arrested. But I have kids. You can't arrest me for stealing a car. You can't arrest me for shoplifting that drill. I have kids. Oh, I didn't know you had kids. Okay, continue with your crime. This bizarre logic of the left that we're hearing out of Los Angeles, it's really amazing because what we're getting is, because there's a panic with Trump in office doing what he's doing, we're hearing the liberals, like this jerk on MSNBC, give us their honest opinion. They're telling us what they really think because they're in a panic attack over the great things that President Trump is doing in Southern California.
Or outside of a school, or at a workplace in the fashion district where they might be working in a factory. It's a different form of family separation, and it's exactly the intent of this administration, modeled after, Nicole, Dwight D Eisenhower's 1954 operation with a name so racist, I'm not going to say it here to you right now, but that resulted in 1 million Mexicans and some Mexican Americans being sent to Mexico in the wake of the Bracero program, coming here legally.
Wow, now he's going to trash Dwight D Eisenhower, who won the Second World War, who crafted the plan that liberated Europe from Nazi tyranny, who liberated the concentration camps that the Nazis put in place to commit the Holocaust. Now, all of a sudden, Eisenhower's a bad. When you've gone so far as to call Eisenhower a racist, and Eisenhower, if you remember, sent the army into the schools. Remember, the Democrats wouldn't let the black students go to the school? Eisenhower sent the army to escort the first black students to go to integrated schools in the Democrat-controlled South. And this guy on MSNBC is calling Dwight D. Eisenhower, a man who did those things, a racist? He should be pulled off the air just like that moron guy from ABC News.
Now, but that resulted in 1 million Mexicans and some Mexican Americans being sent to Mexico in the wake of the Bracero program, coming here legally in the 1950s. That's what the Trump administration is modeling this program after. That's their stated goal. They've talked about it. And so now we're seeing it effectuated on the streets of the largest county in America, second largest city in America, with the largest undocumented population in America, where those people interact. I say those people, we all interact.
See, he said those people, this guy is so liberal and so woke. He said those people, he thought that would be taken as racist. So he's trying to do a little disclaimer on the those people comment.
Undocumented population in America, where those people interact. I say those people.
See, he's trying to explain. I didn't mean those people in a racist way. Jerk.
We all interact on a daily basis here. And it has terrified so many people, which is why you saw people before the protests turned violent. And there was certainly violence associated with those protests before the protests turned violent, a largely peaceful protest to actually the conversion in front of the Metropolitan Detention Center, where so many of those people were picked up by ICE at locations like this, in order to say this is not acceptable to the people of Los Angeles. The undocumented people, the documented people, everyone who knows how important that community is to the fabric of this one, Nicole.
Yeah, Nicole, by the way, she is the Nicole Wallace. She worked for John McCain. She's a so-called Republican. She's a fake Republican, worse than a rhino, Republican name only. She's one of those rats, Republican against Trump. I'm Brian. We'll take a break and be right back. I'm sitting here in the studio with one of my pillows. Well, actually, this my pillow is my wife's my pillow. Okay, this is the one my wife slept on last night, and we were taking the sheets and everything off the bed to do laundry, and we washed the my pillows because, you know, the my pillows are completely washable and dryable. And this one actually is my wife's favorite of the my pillows. This is the premium my pillow, which is covered with Giza cotton, that 100% Giza cotton, which is it's an upscale my pillow, and it has the piping around the side. And the width of the piping actually tells you how much fill there is inside. And this one is firm. And the patented fill that Mike Lindell invented is absolutely amazing. And what that patented fill does is it stops your head and neck from turning at night. Once you're in position and you go to sleep, you stay in that position. You know, with other pillows, you toss and turn at night. Every time you do that, even when you don't remember it, you wake up out of REM sleep. And with the My Pillow's patented fill, your head and neck fit in that pillow perfectly, and you're not tossing and turning. That's why I get 4 or 5 hours sleep a night, usually 4, but if I'm lucky, 5, and I'm so well rested and ready to go every morning for a very long day because those 4 or 5 hours of sleep I get are well-rested sleep. And if you get the sleep you should get, the 7 or 8 hours, oh man, you're going to be lighting the world up on fire. And if you think you've gotten a good night's sleep, you've not had a true good night's sleep until you've slept with a My Pillow. Now, the My Pillow, the premium pillow with the Giza cotton that I'm holding in my arms right now, the queen size is just $19.98 with our promo code Kane at checkout, and the regular price on that is $69.98. So it's a huge discount. You can also get it in the king size, which is $24.98. That's usually $79.98. So great deals with our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. Don't forget to use our promo code Kane at checkout, Kane. And, of course, you can use our promo code Kane, Kane, at checkout on all the specials at MyPillow.com. But I love these My Pillows. I have all the My Pillow products you hear me talk about. The premium My Pillow that's made with the Giza cotton on the outside. This will change your life. Order yours today. Promo code Kane, Kane, at MyPillow.com. There's a new mindset-driven brand that blends streetwear and gymwear for those of you who move with purpose. Discipline. You don't just wear it, you live it. At Discipline, they blend bold streetwear with high-performance gymwear for those of you who move with purpose. Their hoodies, tees, and sweaters aren't just gear. They're a mindset built to keep you sharp, consistent, and locked in. If you're all about pushing the limits and looking good while you're doing it, Discipline is your brand. Shop now at discipline.etsy.com. That's DSCPLN. Discipline.etsy.com. Stay focused, stay ready, stay disciplined. And to embrace life despite its deepest hardships. Author Elise K. McKnight shares an extraordinary memoir of survival, resilience, and faith. In her book, Reasons for Living, I Have Been Given Every Reason to Live, available on Amazon. Born and raised in war-torn Zimbabwe, the author's journey began with loss, but through strength, courage, and an unwavering spirit, she transformed adversity into a life of purpose. From childhood struggles to missionary work across Africa, her story
story is a testament to the power of perseverance and the beauty found in life's most unexpected places. Through heartfelt storytelling, Reasons for Living invites you to reflect on life's challenges and discover meaning beyond their circumstances. This book is also a great addition to your book club. Experience this powerful memoir today and order your copy on Amazon in Kindle and paperback. Reasons for Living. I have been given every reason to live. From author Elise K. McKnight. One encounter with Jesus Christ changes everything. Have you ever felt like your prayers are going unanswered? Like God is silent in your hardest, most difficult moments? Then the book, One Encounter with Jesus Christ Changes Everything, available online at healingandrestorationministry.com, is the book for you. This is a powerful guide to holding on to your faith, even in the waiting. With this book, you'll discover the strength to keep praying, keep believing, and trust God's perfect timing, no matter how long it takes. It will renew your hope and ignite your faith. One Encounter with Jesus Christ Changes Everything. Order now at healingandrestorationministry.com. That's healingandrestorationministry.com. Set sail on a global adventure with Sammy and the Secret Shortcut from author Samuel M. Riley. Available on Amazon. In Sammy and the Secret Shortcut, young readers embark on a thrilling journey through the Panama Canal, discovering how it works and why it matters, all through engaging rhyme and vivid illustrations. Perfect for children ages 4 to 8, this inspiring story brings real-world geography to life, sparking curiosity and a love for travel. Whether at bedtime, in the classroom, or as a family, Sammy's adventure helps children explore global topics in a fun, meaningful way. Author Samuel M. Riley is a former cruise ship learning and development manager who has traveled over 300,000 nautical miles, visited over 80 countries, and this book was inspired by his true adventures at sea. Join Sammy as he discovers the world, one port at a time. Sammy and the Secret Shortcut from author Samuel M. Riley. Order your copy right now on Amazon.
One of the difficult things that the left and the legacy fake news media are facing right now is that President Trump's so popular. You know, this country has been a conservative country for a long, long time, okay? This isn't new. But conservatives around this country have come out of the closet. And, you know, since liberals are so overrepresented in all forms of media, not just the news, but music and movies and TV, and they're very vocal and nasty in our classrooms and in college, you know, they're just, the liberal viewpoint is overrepresented in everything, literature, everything, our history books. And a lot of people have been in the closet, like gays used to be in the closet. A lot of conservatives have been in the closet about their conservatism. I saw yesterday, interviewed on Lake Lauren on his podcast yesterday. He had that actor on. I'd forgotten his name. He's the guy that played Shazam. Oh, my goodness. That guy that played Shazam, not only is he a great conservative, he is one of the best speakers out there for the conservative movement, being from Hollywood. He said he's destroyed his career. He's starting his own studio, I think in Texas. If you know his name, put it in the comments. You know, the guy that played Shazam, very good. And he's a lifelong conservative. I could tell talking to him and the references he was making, and he's kept it to himself. People have been afraid to come out of the closet as conservative. And when Trump got shot by the Never-Trumpers in Butler, it was a moment where people realized that they really are out to get President Trump, and people came out of the closet. And what President Trump is doing in Los Angeles, sitting in the National Guard, the United States Marine Corps, repelling these illegals, doing these deportations, this is why the people of this country elected him. This is why he won all the battleground states. This is why he turned blue counties red all over this country, including multiple blue counties went red in California. Remember, there's more registered Republicans in California than there are registered Republicans in the state of Florida. And you might say, well, they got a bigger population. Well, how much of that population they're counting out there are illegal? Looks like a huge chunk of it, right? So listen to this. This is CNN, and they're going over some polls.
Yeah, let's just sort of start off on the fact that immigrant citizens, immigrant voters, foreign-born voters have gone tremendously to the right on this issue in 2024 and 2025 versus where they were in 2020. Closest to or trust more in immigration. You go back to 2020. Democrats, get this, held a 32-point lead on this issue. Immigrant voters were in the Democratic camp. Jump forward to 2024, 2025. Look at that shift, a 40-point shift to the right among immigrant voters. Republicans now lead on this issue by 8 points over Democrats, more so than any other group that I could find. The group of voters who became more hawkish on immigration were in fact immigrants themselves, immigrants who are registered to vote in this country.
Yeah. And I'm not going to go through all the reasons why legal immigrants are Trump people. I think you guys know all that and have heard it discussed many, many times. But the polls we're seeing now, that's a 40-point gain, right? Because in 2020, Republicans were down 32 points. Now we're up 8. That's a 40-point gain. That's what I mean about conservatives living in the closet. And there also have been a lot of people, red pill. I mentioned Butler a moment ago. When the Never Trumpers shot the president in Butler, we all knew what happened. We all know who shot him. It was the Never Trumpers shot President Trump in Butler, and they tried to do it again at the golf course. And a lot of people out there who didn't believe that they were really after Trump, they realized then and there that, you know what, they are after him. All these things from the spying on Trump Tower and Stormy Daniels, all this stuff, it's true. They are after Trump, and they couldn't get him, so they shot him. That's a reality. It's a sad reality, but it woke a lot of people up. By the way, this is the Brian Craig Show podcast. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. The Brian Craig Show podcast is available on all podcast platforms. If there's a podcast platform, we are on it, okay? And just search for the Brian Craig Show podcast. Also, if you would like to watch the video version of the podcast, just go to my YouTube channel, Brian Craig Show on YouTube, or YouTube Music as well, and search for the Brian Craig Show there on YouTube and YouTube Music. On YouTube, you not only get to see me, but you get to see the videos that I play and the articles that I go over and all of that on the program. That's Brian Craig Show on all podcast platforms, all right? Make sure you follow, subscribe, and share on all of your socials if you don't mind. All right. Okay, so let's get back to this. President Trump, he's talking about how what they did in L.A. with the Army, with the Marines, is they not only did they stop it in L.A., these professional organizers were going to start these protests nationwide to give the illusion that there's a national movement against Trump. And that just didn't happen. Here's CNN.
Here's the latest we're getting right now. The protests are largely concentrated in downtown L.A. According to our CNN reporters who are on the ground, President Trump is doubling his deployment of National Guard troops to 4,000, and about 700 U.S. Marines have been activated to help protect federal personnel and property. California is suing the Trump administration for deploying the National Guard without state consent.
Are you going to get consent from the collaborator, Newsome, collaborating with the enemy invaders and conquerors of California? I don't think so.
Some protesters are saying they don't feel safe and that police have fired rubber bullets recklessly.
The protesters don't feel safe. Well, stop throwing crap at the police. Stop burning police cars. Stop throwing concrete and bricks at the federal agents. You notice they haven't been attacking the soldiers, have they?
Can you show us the video?
That's, they're interviewing a guy who got hit in the leg with a rubber bullet.
So this happened when we were walking right up the street, yelling peaceful protests. And what happened is the police shot the lady in front of me.
Now, this guy, this is just amazing to me. They're interviewing, let me just describe this. CNN's interviewing this guy. He did get shot with a rubber bullet in his leg, as he showed the mark. He's got a gas mask. Who walks around with a gas mask? Where do you get that at? I wouldn't have something like that. They're handing them out. That's right. They're handing them out. Who's handing them out? I don't know. And he's there peacefully protesting. If he's peacefully protesting, why does he have a gas mask? Because he wants to be able to go through the tear gas that law enforcement send their way.
And as soon as I said, hey, you shot a lady, he shoots me.
Water, Gatorade, soda, Buzz Bomb, Modelo, Pacifico.
No, thank you, brother. Just water. So all we were doing is just trying to express our concerns, and then they start shooting at us. So I don't even know where we can go and be safe, where we can express ourselves without feeling intimidation of the police.
Yeah, and I bet you this guy is one of those hired professional protesters because he's bilingual. Guy came up to him speaking Spanish. He answered him in perfect English, but he's very well spoken, and he just happened to get on CNN. If Tom Homan or Bongino or Kash Patel are watching, go check that out. This guy might be one of the L.A. agitator leaders.
Please.
The protests are spreading to cities across the country right now, from California to Dallas and Atlanta, Louisville, and New York. Many protesters say it's time to take a stand against the Trump administration's policies and what they feel are heavy-handed and heartless enforcement.
Well, that sounds like an insurrection to me. If they're organizing now, hold on a second, MSNBC. That's the next clip. If it's nationwide in different cities around the country, that definitely sounds like an insurrection. If their goal is what Tyrion Lannister said there, Wolf Blitzer. If you don't get that reference, look up Tyrion Lannister. You'll get a laugh. He's the little guy on Game of Thrones. But anyway, Wolf Blitzer. If they're planning a nationwide protest, like Blitzer just said, to oppose President Trump, is that not an insurrection? They're trying to interrupt government business all over the place. And what they're doing here, this shows you how coordinated it is. This is 100% the Cloward and Piven strategy. Remember, Cloward and Piven, that strategy, overwhelm the system so it collapses, and then you can negotiate and get everything we want. They're trying to make the system collapse. This is without question an insurrection. It's an attempt to try to stop President Trump and Tom Homan from the deportation moves that they're making. If that's not an insurrection, I don't know what an insurrection is, tell you the truth. Do you? No. And so far as nationwide, there are nationwide protests that they are still planning over this weekend. All of you out there that are conservative, that are MAGA, stay away from these protests. Do not go to them, okay? They want you to go to them. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Brian. It's Frank from West Palm. How you doing there?
All right,
Brian,
Frank.
You were absolutely correct. LaPorta Roofing was amazingly phenomenal. They just completed my roof last week, and LaPorta Roofing was superb in all ways imaginable when installing the new roof on my residence. Tom LaPorta meticulously spearheaded the entire project from inception through to the finalization of the assignment. Tom handled all the paperwork involving city permits, inspectors, and my community HOA. He was always available, ensuring me that he had my back in all phases of the project. Additionally, Tom, Scott, and Dan, and the entire crew were very well organized with the plan, consistent with all policies and procedures, and craftsmanship was exemplary in all stages of the design execution. Tom, Scott, and Dan maintained continual contact with me, the homeowner, asking if there were any questions I had or anything further I needed. LaPorta Roofing is, in every respect, a stellar, 5-star, AAA, family-owned company that is a reliable, peace-of-mind roofing organization. These guys are spot on with regards to perfection, and they demand it. I remain mesmerized upon the completion of the job. My roof is a masterpiece. And one last thing before I forget, they were the least expensive quote that I received out of 4 quotes for roofing. I thank Tom LaPorta Roofing for all that they do.
Wow, Frank. Well, thanks so much. Tom LaPorta at LaPorta Roofing. He covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. He works with every type of structure, residential, commercial,
municipal, and he works with every type of roofing material. Also, don't forget, Tom Laporta will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need just a simple repair, he'll do it. He can also handle the job of any size, whether it's a single-family home or an HOA with over 200 units. Give him a call. This number rings directly to Tom Laporta's cell phone, 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. Frank, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Brian. You have a wonderful day.
All right, now this is Karen Bass. Now, the mayor of Los Angeles, I did a whole breakdown of her earlier this week on the podcast. You can go back and check that out. But she's a lifelong communist, an out-of-the-closet, open communist. And she's hardcore. I mean, she goes to Cuba. She praises Fidel Castro. She eulogized the former head of Communist Party USA at their funeral. So she's a lifetime communist. And what you're seeing in Los Angeles from these insurrectionists, this is what communists do. It's a revolution. Things are going according to plan as far as Karen Bass is concerned.
I want to play what Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said about you and your city this weekend.
I served with her in Congress before she was ever mayor, and she is a train wreck of a mayor now that is endorsing these kind of activities, has allowed her city to be completely devastated with crime, and now she's holding press conferences talking about the fact that people have the right to peacefully protest and that they're a city of immigrants. Well, they're not a city of immigrants, they're a city of criminals.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
Mayor, what's your response?
Well, you know, sometimes when such outlandish statements are made, they're just beneath the dignity of her office.
Okay. Now, MSNBC, their own reporter, just reported that at least 10%, these are MSNBC's liberal numbers, that at least 10% of the population there is illegal. That means they're criminals, right? So I don't know what's outlandish about that, Karen Bass.
They're just beneath the dignity of her office. And what she is saying is absolutely ridiculous. We are not a city of criminals. We are a city where crime has gone down significantly. Does crime still take place? Of course. We have a number of issues here, and we have been resolving them. But the idea that we are a city of criminals is just very unfortunate.
Yeah. Well, it is unfortunate that you are a city of criminals. I will give you that, Karen Bass. You know, Trump's going to win this, and not in the end. He's going to win it during it and all the way through his presidency. And, you know, this second Trump administration is such a major turning point in our country. It really is. This is the first president of my lifetime, and I'm 54. I was born in 1971, and you know, when I was born, you know, was the Nixon Watergate era, right? Well, that was Vietnam. So Vietnam consumed all that period, and then we had after Ford, you know, Vietnam ending in disgrace and embarrassment. We had Jimmy Carter trying to heal the nation. Then we had Ronald Reagan, and his focus, and it was a good focus, was to bring down the Soviet Union, and he did that, but that didn't help us so much. It helped the people of Russia and the people of Europe and in some places around the world, you know, and then the list goes on. President Trump is the only president who his entire administration is about making life for Americans better and America better. And he is the first president we've had that's doing things for us. You know, Vietnam as an example. I use Vietnam as an example since that's where my life began during the Vietnam War was going on when I was my dad's a Vietnam vet. And that was about liberating the people of South Vietnam. It failed, but liberated the people of South Vietnam from socialist communist tyranny. Well, look, we have an out-of-the-closet Marxist communist, that's not an exaggeration, running the city of Los Angeles, ground zero for the violence that's going on in this country. So who's going to liberate the good people of Los Angeles that are living under the occupation and control of this Marxist? Well, it's Donald Trump. Think about it. What presidents have you seen do things other than Trump on this level to help the people of the United States, I think you'll be hard-pressed, because his entire agenda is about helping us, not others, helping us, not others. And people in this country know it. That's why his poll numbers are so high. And what that is doing is many things. But one of the things it's doing, it's changing the expectations of the American people for our leaders. You know, in the past, people kind of said, well, you know, politicians, they're not going to do anything for us. They don't care about us. Well, that was true until Trump came down the escalator. So future presidents and members of Congress and mayors and governors and everyone else in the government, the people are going to expect results that make our lives better. And part of making our lives better is purging from this country the many millions of illegal occupiers, conquerors, and colonists that have taken over huge areas of this country. And the reason there's so much talk like about arresting Gavin Newsome and all this stuff, because the Democrats are a criminal party. They purposely did an illegal thing. They misused their authority in whatever offices they've held, whether it's a mayor declaring a sanctuary city, a governor, or a president in Biden's case, to bring these illegals in here to do all kinds of terrible things. And they strategically located them in places to have them as future voters to help them. As an example, why do you think so many of the illegals from Somalia were moved to Ohio? They're trying to turn Ohio blue, okay? Those kind of things, okay? So what the Democrats have been doing is an organized criminal political outfit, and they are committing crimes, just like that lady Monaco that President Trump was talking about using the Autopen. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. We'll be right back. Now, if you'd like to support the program, become a Patreon supporter. If you're a Patreon supporter, you have access to commercial-free editions of each and every podcast episode. And since I have upgraded the podcast to have a video version of the Brian Craig Show podcast, the audio version is still on all the podcast platforms, guys. But on YouTube and YouTube Music, I upload the video version. And Patreon supporters, not only do you have access exclusively as a Patreon supporter to commercial-free editions of the Brian Craig Show podcast, you get a commercial-free video version of it, completely commercial-free, if you're a Patreon supporter. If you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description of this and every episode on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And if you're one of our top Patreon supporters, you get a live on-air shout-out on each episode. Your name is in the description of the podcast episodes, and on YouTube and YouTube Music, your name as a top Patreon supporter appears on the screen while I go through the names like I'm about to do. So the following names are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, ETW, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, LeeZep, Shawna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, David, Laura, Rob, and SFjr. These are our top Patreon supporters. If you want your name on the screen and in the description, or you want to get those commercial-free editions of the podcast, go into the description of this episode. On whatever platform you're on, go to my Patreon page and become a Patreon supporter.
There's a new mindset-driven brand that blends streetwear and gym wear for those of you who move with purpose. Discipline. You don't just wear it, you live it. At Discipline, they blend bold streetwear with high-performance gym wear for those of you who move with purpose. Their hoodies, tees, and sweaters aren't just gear. They're a mindset built to keep you sharp, consistent, and locked in. If you're all about pushing the limits and looking good while you're doing it, Discipline is your brand. Shop now at discipline.etsy.com. That's DSCPLN. Discipline.etsy.com. Stay focused, stay ready, stay disciplined. One encounter with Jesus Christ changes everything. Have you ever felt like your prayers are going unanswered? Like God is silent in your hardest, most difficult moments? Then the book, One Encounter with Jesus Christ Changes Everything, available online at healingandrestorationministry.com, is the book for you. This is a powerful guide to holding on to your faith, even in the waiting. With this book, you'll discover the strength to keep praying, keep believing, and trust God's perfect timing, no matter how how long it takes. It will renew your hope and ignite your faith. One encounter with Jesus Christ changes everything. Order now at healingandrestorationministry.com. That's healingandrestorationministry.com. Did you know that every year, 95% of criminal cases never see a jury? They're decided behind closed doors through plea bargains. But what happens when those negotiations go wrong? Author Philip Mosier takes you inside the seismic 2012 Supreme Court rulings, Missouri versus Fry and Lafler versus Cooper, that changed everything in the book Plea Bargains on Trial. Available on Amazon. For the first time, the court recognized the right to effective counsel during plea bargaining, exposing the hidden pressure points that shape justice in America today. Filled with sharp legal insight, real-world examples, as well as powerful historical context, Plea Bargains on Trial pulls back the curtain on a system built on speed, but often short on fairness. If you're drawn to the complexities of law, justice, and the fight for true representation, Plea Bargains on Trial is a book you can't afford to miss. Order your copy right now on Amazon and see the system in a whole new light. Plea Bargains on Trial, from author Philip Mosier, on Amazon. If you're in business, you know that first impressions are crucial. Your business deserves a website that stands out. With nearly 20 years of experience, ProWeaver is your trusted partner for professional custom design websites that are built to elevate your brand. ProWeaver doesn't use generic templates, just fully responsive, user-friendly custom websites that are tailored to you and the needs of your business. And the best part, ProWeaver delivers in just 3 to 5 days. That's lightning speed compared to competitors who take weeks. ProWeaver handles everything for you. Logo design to e-commerce solutions, SEO, and social media setup. They'll help you launch, grow, and dominate online, all at an affordable price. Don't wait. Get your custom website right now. Visit ProWeaver.com or call them directly toll-free 877-216-0852. 877-216-0852. ProWeaver.com. Affordable, dependable, fast.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. Look at this. This is just shows the arrogance and stupidity of Gavin Newsome. Gavin Newsome's wife, California's First Lady, goes shopping in Beverly Hills. Now, this is a new thing the Daily Mail is doing, where they want to charge you to listen or to watch. I'm not going to pay the Daily Mail for their liberal garbage, but it's not a good day to go shopping, all right, Gavin Newsome. It just shows how out of touch with reality his family is. You know, one of the things that's going on here, as I was talking earlier about how there were so many closeted conservatives in the country, and now what we're seeing, there's these liberals, they've been holding back a little bit. And now, out of their desperation, they're telling us the truth. I was talking about that. This is a Democrat congresswoman today in a press conference in Congress. And, you know, what's amazing to me, when you hear them talking, they think that what they're saying is a sympathetic position.
But let me be clear. Congressional Democrats stand in full solidarity with the residents of Los Angeles, with our immigrant sisters and brothers, and with the peaceful protesters who dare to speak out and who will support every effort to oppose this president's abuse of power.
You know, this just blows my mind. We're seeing the violence and the looting, and the cops in Los Angeles and most of the National Guard, they're liberal Democrats, right? They live in Southern California. The National Guard could be from other parts of California, so it's hard to say. They might be from Northern California. But the police, the LAPD and the LA County Sheriff, they're liberals, okay? They're Democrats, almost every one of them. They're born and raised, most of them, in Southern California, in Los Angeles County. So, of course, so they're attacking their own people. But we're watching the looting of the local businesses. They don't have any sympathy for the local businesses that are getting looted and having their inventory stolen, or they'll just keep calling them non-violent when we see the violence on television. It really, truly blows my mind. Now, Laura Ingraham last night, she had a very good segment on, and with Byron York. And Byron York is the only white guy that I know of whose name is Byron. Byron usually is the African-American version of Brian. I always thought, like, my name's Brian, white guy, Byron, Anyway, I'm just kidding. But anyway, one of the things that has really upset people for very good reason is the flying of not the American flag, but the flying of the Mexican flag by these people out in Los Angeles while they're doing all this destruction, attacking police and federal agents. And that's where the whole truth came out, that Los Angeles is occupied by foreigners, and they believe it is their land that they're taking back. And those Mexican flags really ticked people off. And we've heard the last few days the American left, both in the media and liberals around the country, the flag is their heritage. I didn't hear them say that at any event with MAGA people with American flags. So this is Byron York with Ingram last night on Fox talking about the Mexican flag.
The New York Times said that Republicans are trying to make a big deal out of this. But, in fact, these people are just expressing pride in their heritage. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, we've seen other flags. You mentioned earlier in the program about the Confederate flag. That would cause an entirely different reaction at the New York Times, and has many times. But this is part of the problem here, and this links to what we were just talking about Democrats. They've put themselves on the wrong side of something big again.
Okay, yeah, this thing with the Mexican flag, this is not an instance of the flag representing culture, okay? Like here, and I'm in Florida, and in Florida we have a very large immigrant community, and in particular in Miami we have a large Cuban community, and it's not unusual to go to an event or a business. I was in Little Havana not long ago, and I went to the bakery, Versailles Bakery in Little Havana, which is the bakery that President Trump went to after they arraigned him at the federal courthouse in Miami. It's really good. And they have Cuban flags around and everything else. That's cultural. I go on Friday night and get pizza from the Italian restaurant down the street. They got the Italian flag up there. That's culture, okay? The Mexican flags that they're waving at the Battle of Los Angeles is a big F-you. This is our country. We've conquered it. We've taken it back from you. From you white boys that took it during the war with Mexico, and it's ours now. The Mexican flags are not because you're at some burrito stand, okay, or a Taco Bell. That is, we are here, we have conquered it, this is our land now, and we're not giving it back. The symbolism of the flag there is much different than just culturally having the flag. And so far as American flags, people bring American flags because, well, this is the United States of America. You should never have to make an excuse for that one. And it's been the American left have always taken issue with the American flag. We saw this after 9/11. CNN sent out a memorandum to their on-air people that were reporting from Ground Zero in the days after 9/11. And I'm talking about so soon after 9/11, they were still searching for survivors inside the rubble of the World Trade Center. And CNN ordered their on-air staff not to wear American flags on their clothing because a lot of reporters started wearing American flags. And they weren't the only news outlet that did that. They didn't want to show bias towards America. Remember, the World Trade Center had just come down. Pentagon attacked. Flight 93. So they've always taken issue. Now all of a sudden, well, flags are cultural and people just representing their culture. What a bunch of nonsense. I was telling Steve Kane this morning that come August, it'll be 3 years since Dr. Philip Appleton rid me of pain for the first time. It was in my knee. And my knee had been hurting me since I was 20, 21 years old. So it had been 30 years of suffering. And sometimes my knee would act up. It was my right knee. It would act up so much, I just wanted to sit down and go to sleep, because the pain was so bad. And Dr. Appleton treated me. And I know it was 3 years ago, because I remember a salesman from the radio station took me to meet Dr. Appleton. And I told Dr. Appleton about my knee. I got that free consultation that you can take advantage of too, the free consultation with Dr. Appleton. And he treated me with the laser treatment on my knee, which is 100% painless. There's no shots, no injections, no downtime. In fact, not only is it completely painless, you don't even feel it when it's happening, So that was on Thursday. The next day I woke up on Friday and my knee was already improving. I went for a second treatment on Saturday. First treatment Thursday, second treatment on Saturday, and then Monday the pain was gone. And 3 years coming in August, the pain has not returned because the laser treatment doesn't just rid you of pain, it repairs the damage that's causing the pain. It's amazing. It works. And he's rid me of pain 6 times after that for a total of 7, Dr. Appleton. We have listeners that travel literally from all over the United States to see Dr. Appleton. He is incredible. The laser treatment works on every type of pain I've ever heard of. Arthritis, which, by the way, he rid me of arthritis in my hand, bursitis, work and sports injuries, strains and sprains, repetitive motion injuries, post-surgical swelling, neck and back injuries, knee conditions, tinnitus, sciatica, spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, plantar fasciitis, which I understand is incredibly painful, rotary tears, herniated disc, acute pain, chronic pain, and any type of pain you've ever heard of. Because I keep meeting listeners all the time with new pains I never heard of, and they're now living pain-free thanks to Dr. Appleton. Give him a call. Now, remember, appointments are not necessary. Walk-ins are welcome, even on Saturdays. Give him a call and say bye-bye to your pain. 954-973-0710. 954-973-0710. And online, AppletonCairo.com. Now, of course, the liberals are constantly bringing up January 6th, and it has not gone without notice to me that the behavior and actions of these professional agitators in Los Angeles remind me a lot of the agitators at January 6th. And I'm wondering if it's the same people, the same Antifa people breaking the glass at the Capitol. What do you guys think? You know, MAGA people don't break things. We don't break glass. We don't break concrete off the sidewalk. We're peaceful people, right? I'd like to see Dan Bongino and Kash Patel identify the people and let us know who they were with that broke the windows and busted into the Capitol on January 6th. But this is CNN, and, well, they made a mistake bringing it up. Listen.
We can always go back to January 6th and ask why weren't the National Guard called in then?
Oh, what a brilliant. Why wasn't that? What an idiot. This is living history. This guy, this isn't like something that happened in the 60s. That was just 5 years ago. Well, a little more than 4. And he knows exactly what happened on January 6th, right? We all lived through it and saw it, and this guy's such a stupid liberal, he's forgotten one of the big points about January 6th, but it gets handed back to him. Listen.
We can always go back to January 6th and ask why
this guy's name is talking, his name's Mandela Barnes, named after Nelson Mandela. Maybe they could ask him about the terrorism that's going on against the white South African farmers.
The National Guard called in then when police officers were being attacked.
I can tell you why. Hold on. I can tell you why.
Oh, this is
Go
great.
back to Nancy Pelosi's own words.
No. The president. No. The president.
Oh, here now that the truth. Now that this is what's this guy's name? Ben Ferguson. Now that he referenced something, all of a sudden Mandela Barnes. His name really is Mandela Barnes, guys. He used to be the lieutenant governor of Wisconsin, for whatever that means. Now he remembers what Nancy Pelosi did to Trump so far as National Guard, and he no, don't bring up that truth.
We can always go back to January 6th and ask why weren't the National Guard called in then when police officers were being attacked.
I can tell you why. Hold on. I can tell you why. Go back to Nancy Pelosi's own words.
No. The president. The president had an opportunity.
Because I think you're an honest man. Hold on. I want to go on first. True or false? Did they say to Nancy Pelosi that if you want to go ahead and bring in the National Guard and others, we will more than happy do that? And Nancy Pelosi was the one that said no.
The president
True or
fanned
false?
the flames in
True or false?
January 6th?
Yes. Beforehand, they said we will give you the resources before January 6th, and she said no.
Look at this guy here. I don't know who this guy is. They got another guy in the panel. And he's like acting like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Nancy Pelosi turned down. On January 6th, she turned down that? Yes. It's been widely discussed. She turned down National Guard. President Trump offered Nancy Pelosi, who was the Speaker of the House at the time, thousands of National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol. She said no.
give you the resources before January 6th, and she said no.
Guys, everybody, just 1 second. Let me just get everybody one at a time.
Yeah, this anchor here, they're getting breaking news here on her own program, and like a good CNN anchor, if there's breaking news, they want to squash it if it doesn't fit their agenda.
Guys, everybody, just 1 second. Let me just get everybody one at a time. Am I right? I want John to just answer that quick question.
The Capitol Police went to the architect of the Capitol and the sergeant at arms from.
This guy speaking, his name is John Miller. He's the chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst for CNN.
Both houses. The chief of the Capitol Police does not know who they went to, but let's assume they went to their political leadership.
Pelosi said this.
And
that's what she said.
And that they said they didn't want the National Guard brought in. They wanted them on standby. The day of the riot, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer are on the phone saying, "Can we get the National Guard?"
Yeah, well, it's a little hard to mobilize when an event is going on. You know, listen, the Democrat Party, as we've known it, is over. Okay, the Democrat Party is over, and the two leading Democrats have been exposed and taken down by President Trump. You know, Victor Davis Hanson was talking yesterday. He put out a very good video yesterday. Victor David Hanson, isn't he great? I mean, I would say that Victor Davis Hanson is the greatest living conservative philosopher we have out there. I call him a philosopher. I don't know if he'd call himself a philosopher, but doesn't Victor Davis Hanson seem like a philosopher to you? He is brilliant, and he had a great video that he dropped yesterday about Gavin Newsome, and Victor Davis Hanson said Gavin Newsom's presidential dreams are over now. It's over, and he knows it. That's why he's pushing so hard to get arrested. If he gets arrested, he becomes a victim. He becomes a martyr. And by the way, if he's in jail, he can't govern, right? So he can't be held responsible for anything. But that might give him a comeback if he got arrested and it makes him a victim. But because of what's happening during the Battle of Los Angeles, Gavin Newsom's done as a president, but probably just a candidate. And President Trump also took down their second leading candidate, which was Governor Whitmer in Michigan. If you remember, a few weeks ago, President Trump was speaking to the National Guard of Michigan, and he invited Governor Whitmer up to the podium to speak, and then he kissed her on the cheek. That was it. That was it. That was like Chris Christie on the beach with Obama with Republicans. He was done. And same thing when Trump kissed Whitmer. So he's taken down the Democrats' two last best hopes. But the Democrat Party, as we know it, has collapsed. They stand for nothing. They've got no one. And the country is seeing them for what they are. They're criminal anarchists who are advocating for one thing and one thing only. Well, two things. A few months back, they were advocating to steal money from USAID, from the U.S. Treasury. But now they're advocating, of course, for criminals and foreigners. And the Democrat Party, there is nothing in their agenda that is to help one single American. South Americans, yes, but not United States of Americans. And the American people are seeing this. They're realizing this. They're disorganized. And I want to give some partial credit to David Hogg, who's never stops through his ego doing more destruction. Did you see this audio tape that came out? I'm not going to play it today. I was going to play it. I have it, but I don't have it queued up. I might play it on the radio tomorrow. I haven't gotten to it because I was going to play it on Monday's show, and then we had this whole breakdown in Los Angeles. But the head of the RNC is whining and crying to David Hogg that David Hogg has taken over the party, and nobody even knows who he is. And he's really a whiny, crying guy who certainly is no leader. But the Democrat Party, not only are they leaderless, they're doing a lot of very self-destructive behavior inside on their own, on top of what Republicans are doing. We've never seen anything like this. They may try to regroup and come back at some point, but for the most part, the Democrat Party, as we know it, is done, and that's a good thing. Not just because it'll help us win elections and firm up having a second MAGA president. This country does not need the Democrat Party. No good in our country has come from the Democrats ever. I do want to play this clip. I'm not. I'll play this. I can't. This is one I can't play on the radio. Let me play the one I can't play on the radio, because sometimes I get clips and they have language in them, And sometimes when I am on the radio, I'll bleep out the audio, but sometimes there's so much profanity. If you bleep out the profanity, there's nothing there. And I wanted to pull this one up. This is Wyatt Russell, and he is the son of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, and he shows up at the ICE facility. He's standing next to something in the street that says ICE equals KKK.
Feel tough with your assault rifles and your sticks? You should be standing here with us. You're on the wrong side of history.
Do you think Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell are on this side? I love Kurt Russell. We all like Goldie Hawn. Do you think they agree with their idiot son here?
We know you got a job to do, but you took an oath to the Constitution, not to the fascists in the White House.
No.
Think about what you're doing now. Think about what this means. Coming into our community. Peaceful fucking community. People working their jobs. They send in men in military fatigues. Weapons of war into our communities.
Yeah, we need Snake Plissken, right? Wouldn't you like to see Snake Plissken handle these ICE protesters, his daddy?
And you stand here and you allow it. I am sick and tired of it. You should be sick and tired of it. You think any of these people in the White House sending you these commands give a fuck about you?
Okay, so the Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, they raised a butte. You know, the reason I share this, I love it when these actors, and he does act. I've seen him in a couple of things. He's not that good, but I've seen him act. These actors who support these illegals here, taking American jobs, they work in an industry that is unionized. There are no undocumented people on any film set that Goldie Hawn or the great Kurt Russell or this guy, the son of them, has been on. You have to be a union member. There's no undocumented people. So they don't worry about the undocumented that are in Southern California because they're not taking their jobs, right? But a lot of Hollywood people, including Tom Hanks and many others, John Hamm, a lot of the big famous people in Hollywood don't like these people from England getting jobs on American TV shows and in American movies. There's a whole movement in Hollywood that of top actors and people in the industry that are so upset that these English actors are taking American roles, so they don't really like it. But these undocumented people taking other people's jobs, the reason that guys like this in Hollywood, this guy born to privilege, born to the wealth of Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn, the reason, we know what the reason is. Why do you think this guy is so passionate about the illegals in Southern California? Because like all these Hollywood leftist elitists, they're their slaves. They mow their lawns, they take care of their children, they clean their homes, right? They have this very low paid, they pay them literally slave wages, taking care of them, and they're their slaves. And they like them here. And they're thinking, who am I going to be able to pay peanuts to mow my lawn, take care of my kids, and clean my house, and cook my meals? And, remember all these different Hollywood, remember Ozzy Osbourne's daughter, Kelly Osbourne? Who's going to clean your toilets? Well, I guess she has illegals cleaning her toilets. They don't want their slave labor force deported. That's what they're so passionate about. My name's Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.